Surprise, surprise. Dillian White doesn't want to fight somebody. Shocker. Once again, Dillian White refuses to fight one of the top heavyweights, man, but at the same time, in such a hypocritical manner, has the nerve to talk smack about it. Man, Dillian White is a joke. Can't wait for this dude to go away. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, Andy Ruiz takes big shot at Dillian White for refusing an offer to fight Andy Ruiz. What a shock, what a shock, what a shock. It seems as if every other fight that Dillian White is being offered, Dillian White turns down. But yet Dillian White talks more ish than anybody that is that trash. Is he trash? He's not quite trash. He's a decent fighter, but man, is that guy overrated and hesitant to fight certain people. Now, let's go over this. After Andy Ruiz lost to Anthony Joshua, you know what Eddie Hearn is going to do? Eddie Hearn is going to try to find a way to get Andy Ruiz in the rematch room, rehash room, heavyweight circulation, okay? Case in point, Joseph Parker loses to Anthony Joshua. Next thing you know, Joseph Parker is fighting who? Dillian White. Joseph Parker is fighting who after that was supposed to fight Alexander Usyk. I do believe that fell through. He fights several other people, but all under the matchroom banner, right? Same thing goes for Alexander Povetkin. Alexander Povetkin fights Anthony Joshua. Then boom, after that, he's in the heavyweight rotation that includes Dillian White, Alexander Povetkin, Joseph Parker, to a certain extent, Derek Chisora, all those guys. Now you're gonna have Alexander Usyk in that deal. So I wasn't surprised at all when Matchroom and Eddie Hearn tried to get him to fight Dillian White. Now, similar to that very predictable move by Matchroom, Dillian White, they're in conversations about the fight. Offers are supposed to be made, and Dillian White turns down the fight. Now, why is that? Why do I say that is predictable? Because Dillian White has turned down. Let me count the people with fights that Dillian White has turned down. Dillian White was not just turned down, but talked a whole lot of smack, then turned down the fight. Tyson Fury, though Tyson Fury, I think, was already in the midst of having another fight, but the WBC, or either one of the two were, but the WBC mandated a fight between Tyson Fury and Dillian White. Dillian White didn't have any interest in that. Tyson Fury probably didn't have interest in that, to be fair, but that's not the situation with these other ones, okay? Luis Ortiz, for all this talking that Dillian White has done about wanting to fight Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder told Dillian White, if you fight Luis Ortiz, I will fight you as a voluntary. So, does Dillian White fight Luis Ortiz so that he can become a voluntary challenger to fight the guy that he says that he wants to fight? No. So then the WBC steps in. The WBC steps in and orders Dillian White to fight Luis Ortiz. Does that get Dillian White to fight Luis Ortiz? No. Dillian White just chooses to go another route, even though the WBC mandated the fight. The fact that the WBC kept Dillian White in their rankings after turning down a mandatory shot is something else altogether, because I would figure, hey man, if you're not taking the mandatory fight, then hey dude, you got to get up out these rankings, or you got to get dropped down or something. But that's not how the WBC operates, and hey, that's their prerogative. So he doesn't take that fight. Then you have the fight that was mandated by the IBF, which was Dillian White versus Kubrat Pulev. Again, Do you think, does Dillian White take this fight? No, because when the fight gets mandated, then they can't negotiate a deal that they want. They wind up going to purse bid. When Matchroom loses the purse bid, which is, kind of predictable with Matchroom, Dillian White just altogether pulls out of the fight. So, anybody else? Yes. Dominic Breazeale, in the midst of all this talking that Dillian White was doing about being Deontay Wilders mandatory, he saw he should be the mandatory. The real mandatory, right? The real guy that was a mandatory, who was Dominic Breazeale, said, hey, if you think you should be the mandatory, although I'm already the mandatory, we can work this out. How about you and I fight? So, do they fight? That seems reasonable. You say that you're the mandatory. I say I'm the mandatory. We both have a slot available for a fight. Hey, how about you and I fight, and then whoever that is becomes the mandatory and gets the next mandatory shot? Dillian White says no. Okay? Then you add to it the fact that he turned down, though this one might be a little less on Dillian White than maybe some posturing on Anthony Joshua. Add into the fact that he was in negotiations to fight Anthony Joshua for a rematch and pulled out of that because he said he wanted more money. That might have been the case of them not really being serious about making the fight, and because they were going to come over to the US anyway. But just for the sake of, just putting it out there as one of the weaker ones, the two weaker ones are the Tyson Fury and the Anthony Joshua ones. But again, that is Andy Ruiz. Now, he won't take that fight. He didn't take Dominic Breazeale. He didn't take Luis Ortiz. And he didn't take Luis Ortiz twice. And he didn't take Kubrat Pulev. This guy has got to be the biggest spoiled baby in all of boxing. Who do you know that has turned down that many fights besides Dillian White, but yet still gets away with testing positive for PEDs and testing positive for PEDs against Oscar Rivas, right? I can understand why you might want to fight Oscar Rivas instead of Luis Ortiz, or the Oscar Rivases instead of Dominic Breazeale. I can see that, but why do you need PEDs to do it? But, he gets off the hook. He gets off the hook with that. Now, the funny thing is, not only is the guy just a spoiled brat, man. That's the best way to say it. I mean, his whole attitude is spoiled. The way that he talks about people are spoiled. The hypocritical way that some of the massively hypocritical crap he talks is it's mind-boggling. This guy had enough nerve in his response to Andy Ruiz to call him fat. Dillian, did you not see yourself on the same fight card against Marius Whyte, another guy who apparently now is in the rehash room heavyweight cycle? Didn't you see that? You came in, I do believe, significantly heavier than Andy Ruiz did. And you looked fat, had pudgy, shit was all pudgy in the face, dude, and you looked terrible. I mean, Andy Ruiz didn't look great in that fight against Anthony Joshua, but at least Andy Ruiz was fighting Anthony Joshua. He wasn't fighting Marius Whyte, however you say his name, looking absolutely like garbage, absolutely looking like, man, I need my PEDs. I need my illegal gloves. I need whatever, my diuretics to get this weight up off me. Man, Dillian White is just garbage, man. Hold on one second. Man, dude. So he add to it. I mean, as a fighter, he's okay. I don't see what's so special about him. Doesn't really stand out to me. I mean, he seems like, he's a lower upper level heavyweight or a upper middle level heavyweight, one of the other. But he's just so hypocritical. The guy just won't take fights, and then he just lies like a rug. 600 days. This guy said, I've been mandatory for 600 days. This is just so I've not been treated right. Dog, you can't be mandatory when the number one does not mean you're mandatory. Okay. They change the rankings every month. Okay. So if something happens and the rankings change, that doesn't mean that the fight that had been mandated 6 months earlier is like every month. If they did that every single solitary month, they'd have to change their mandatory. Oh, so hey, well, you know you were mandatory, but you dropped in the rankings. You're no longer mandatory. So you would never it would be worthless having a mandatory unless you did it, just named it like, oh, Deontay Wilder, the WBC champion, has this fight this month. Okay, who's the mandatory? That's it. And they got to fight next month. It would never happen, man. So anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section, man. But Dillian White's a joke, man. And I'm out. Peace.